स्टडी IQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।
Hello students, welcome to Study IQ's initiative, the podcast. I am your host Dipansh Murjani. So get your juices flowing because it is time for the podcast of the day. In the last episode of the podcast, we had discussed some important motions of our parliament. So all the new listeners out there can listen to our previous episodes not only on YouTube but also on all the audio streaming platforms like Spotify, Hubhopper, Apple Podcast, etc. In today's episode, we are going to understand how bill becomes an act. Sir, first things first, can you give us some brief information about a bill?
A bill is related to legislative proceedings in Parliament. However, a bill is a proposal for legislation and it becomes an act or law when duly enacted in Parliament. The legislative procedures is the same in both the houses of Parliament to enact a bill into a law. Every bill has to pass through the same stages in each house every time.
Sir, what is an ordinary bill? And we are curious to know. And what are the stages through which a bill becomes an act?
Bills which are concerned with any matter other than the financial subjects are known as ordinary bills. Every ordinary bill has to pass through the following 5 stages. The first stage is first reading. The first reading includes the introduction of the bill and which is also published in the Gazette of India. The second stage of ordinary bill is second reading. In second reading, general but also detailed scrutiny happens and bill assumes its final shape. In this stage, bill may refer to select committee or departmental committee. Depends on the situation. However, in this reading, each clause is discussed and voted upon separately. The third stage of ordinary bill is third reading. In this third reading, the debate is confined to the acceptance or rejection of the bill as a whole and no amendments are allowed in third reading. Voting on the bill stage and authentication by the presiding officer. The fourth important stage of ordinary bill is bill in the second house. Bill passes through all the above same 3 stages. President can summon a joint sitting of the 2 houses in case of deadlock. The fifth and the last stage of ordinary bill is assent of the president. President may give his assent or withhold his assent, and even president may return the bill for reconsideration in the final stage. If the president gives his assent to the bill finally becomes an act.
Sir, after understanding how bill becomes an act, we are curious to understand the differences between private bill and public bill.
I would like to highlight the difference between public bill and private bill through some points. Number 1. Public bill is introduced in the Parliament by minister. However, a private bill is introduced by any member of Parliament other than a minister. He can belong to the ruling party or he can also belong to the opposition party. The second difference between the public bill and private bill is that public bill reflects the policies of the government which are in the power. However, it is not same in the private bill. It reflects the stand of opposition party on public matters. However, sometimes private bill is also introduced by the ruling party member of Parliament, and that does not mean that private bill is always introduced by opposition party. The third key difference between both is that public bill has a greater chance to be approved by the Parliament. However, in the private member bill, it has a lesser chance to be approved by the Parliament. The next key difference is that in public bill, 7 days prior notice is required for its introduction into the House. However, in private bills, that prior notice is of 1 month to be introduced in any house. The next point of difference between both is a public bill is drafted by the concerned departments in consultation with the law department. However, in private member bill, its drafting is the responsibility of the member who is introducing that private bill, and less possibility of assistance from the law department or any other governmental body. The next point of difference is that the public bill, if rejected by the House, which amounts to the expression of want of parliamentary confidence in the government and may lead to its resignation also. However, this is not the case in private member bill. If it is rejected in the House, there is no implication in the parliamentary confidence of the government or of that member also. There is one interesting fact I want to quote, that 14 private member bills were introduced, in which 5 of which were introduced in Rajya Sabha and have become law so far.
Sir, thank you for giving us the information. Dear listeners, it is time to wrap up this episode of the podcast. In the next episode, we will be back with another topic. So stay connected with StudyIQ and keep studying. You can listen to StudyIQ Presents the podcast on all the audio streaming platforms like Spotify, Hubhopper, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Kuku FM, etc. Links are pinned in the comment section below. Thank you.